What's going on, Chazz, man?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm hanging in there, man. I understand that everybody is celebrating Black History this month and hopefully throughout the year. But I want to say to everyone, I hope they are getting involved in Black history and actually doing something to make Black history something that we all would remember. I think we should be excited about it. We shouldn't take it lightly. We shouldn't turn it into a festivities where it's nothing about but food and all of this kind of stuff, revelry. But yeah, I'm just hoping that everybody's having a great Black History Month, hopefully a great Black History year.
Yeah, and in fact, I don't know if many people even talked about this on so-called Valentine's Day. If
Uh-huh.
you and shout out to your calendar that you created, it actually was Frederick Douglass Day, and I didn't hear anybody talk about it. Like I don't even remember seeing anybody say, Happy Frederick Douglass Day. Everybody was talking about that. So I guess they skipped over him for Valentine's Day, which is pretty messed up.
Yeah, when you get conditioned, you have to do what the mind says, and whatever the mind has been taught, we do. But we're going to go ahead and finish talking about redefining celebrations. Basically, we're going to be moving beyond the noise. So, Chaz, let's just start off by talking about what a celebration is, and I'll let you deal with last week and this week, and then we'll open this baby up for dialogue.
Okay. Celebration, a special way of showing appreciation for something important.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight when we talk about the word celebration. We know this is Black History Month that we're celebrating, but we're just talking about the word celebration and how we should show appreciation for something that's important. What about this one, Chaz?
Okay. Since last week we talked about what we do when we call ourselves celebrating. Today we'll talk about why we do what we do when we call ourselves celebrating.
Yeah, I think that's important because what we do and why we do it. You have to put those together. And before we really get started, I want to say to everyone, this broadcast can be seen every Wednesday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. And on the East Coast, Midwest, it can be seen at 7 o'clock. So we hope that everybody's having a great evening. And so having said that, Chaz, we're going to dive right into the subject of why do we miss the real meaning of the word celebration? Are you ready?
Yes, sir. I'm ready.
Ready or not, here we come. Here's one of the reasons why we miss the real meaning, Chaz, the guts of why we celebrate. Here we go.
Our cultural conditioning. Our society equates celebration with, with fun, music, food, and loudness. Yeah, and here's the thing. There's a time and place for everything, but there's some days and certain times where you just have to say, you know what? I'm not going to bring any loudspeakers. I'm not going to bring any liquor. I'm not going to bring any marijuana. None of that. Just have a good time being sober. Maybe we may have a little bit of food here, but we're not going to make that the vocal point of the party, and just learning how to just tone it down a notch just for a few hours, basically.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the whys. The reason why we do it is because we've been conditioned. See, our mindset has been taken from us, and we've been given another mind. And the new mind that we've been given, it equates celebration with food, with music, with fun, with loudness, with revelry, and all of that. So I think we need to look at how we have been conditioned, man, because we haven't always been this way. But because of all the magazines we read, because of social media, because of the books that we read, because of people putting things in our ears, because of tradition, which you're going to talk about, it has basically conditioned us because of Eurocentric indoctrination. It has conditioned us to believe, man, that celebration equals fun, it equals music, it equals food, it equals, drinking and et cetera, et cetera. So I think we do need to look at why we have been conditioned. Why haven't we stopped that, Chaz? What do you think? Why haven't we stopped that kind of conditioning?
I'll be honest. I think it's going to be a hard thing for us to stop. We've been doing this since we were about 15, 16, 17 years old. And here we are, some of us in our 40s and 50s. And just to tell us to cut that cold turkey, it's going to almost be impossible. So I think, and I'm not taking up for the people. I'm just saying when you've done something for so long, it's hard to cut it off. And I think that's what some people are dealing with and then some of it is just, this is our ego. We love doing this kind of stuff. We love putting it on social media and getting in front of a crowd, talking about this is how I get down and all that. That's just how some of us are. So it's a 50-50. Some is we have an ego boost from this. And then also it's from the aspect of we've been doing it for so long, it's hard to cut off.
Yeah, and it's a shame when we talk about the word celebration and we don't realize what that really means. We've been so indoctrinated that we can't see celebrating the right way for celebrating the wrong way. And this is something that, like you mentioned earlier, this is something that we just always, it's like it's a part of us. And we got to stop that, because it really hurts us when you really think about it. Because a lot of times, man, when somebody ends up hurt, we end up drunk, we end up full, we end up just missing the whole meaning of the word celebration. And I know we should be willing to say, when we celebrate, we should get something out of it, man. We should.
Right. I definitely agree with that 1,000%. We got Ain't Nucci's in the building. She says, peace and blessings, fam. We appreciate her. We have Sister Marie. She fires in here. She says, Hotep Kings, we appreciate her as well.
Okay, Chazz, what about this one?
Escapism. People often seek joy and entertainment to escape the pressures of daily life. And that is so true. We're going through so much, brother. Our bills, our jobs, home problems, our kids, if we have kids, are running us crazy, bill collectors. It's just so much. So this is how we escape. We turn to, like we said, liquor. We turn to pills. We turn to Xanax. We go to these things, brother, because when you're trying to escape this pain through life, this agony through life, you go to celebrate. And even though I don't agree with how you celebrate, this is some of our fallback plan. We feel like we don't have anything else to live for, so we might as well numb the pain, which it's really, really sad, though, really.
It really is, because the reason why we celebrate with all of the revelry and all the things we've talked about previously, we celebrate because many of us want to escape reality. Like you said, daily pressures of life. You know, the job, some of us don't have a job, so that's pressure. Some of us do have a job, and that job is kicking our behind. Some of us dealing with our children, some of us dealing with our health, some of us dealing with just everyday life, the pressures. And so when we celebrate, we get caught up in all that other stuff, and we miss the meaning of what celebration really is, because what we're trying to do, Chazz, we're trying to get away. See, we want to get away from all that we just mentioned, you see. And this is why families are destroyed. This is why people's lives are out of whack, because we want to escape the reality. And the reality is, we must take our challenges and meet them head on every day and do something about them, because we don't want to do anything about it. Just like my guy and I yesterday, Kev and I, we were talking about doing Black history. See, we always want to give names and dates, but we don't want to do, and that's fine, but we don't want to do anything, man. We don't want to make Black history ourselves. So we end up just running around all over the city, wearing dashikis, but yet we don't even know what it's all about. But we really want to escape, Chazz. That's what we want to do. We want to escape.
Yeah, it's a sad state, a cycle, I should say. We have Sister Sharon. She fires in here. She says, hey, family. Hey, Sister Sharon. We appreciate her as well. Moving on to letter C. Ignoring real issues. Some of us love to party as an easy way to forget stress and struggles. That kind of goes hand in hand with our previous point, escapism, but I'll still tag along with this one. And it is, we're going through a lot. And I'm not, listen, when I say we're going through a lot, it may sound like I'm making excuses for these people, but this is just the way we look at it. We're going through so much. We're not getting paid that much as these jobs and all this. So we figure, well, I might as well crack open a couple cans of Bud Light. And even though these things are making our lives pretty much worse, and we're getting more in depth when we're doing some of these things, this is our only way to deal with it. And ignoring it makes the problems worse, because once you come down off that high or that liquor, you still have to go back to the same issue. So it's just like I said, it's a never ending cycle.
And this is why a lot of us like to live for the weekend. We want to live for the weekend because we want to ignore what's really going on. See, and there's a lot of things that's going on. Excuse me. There's a lot of things that's going on in our lives, but we really want to escape those things. So we ignore the real issues so that we can fill our faces, fill our hearts, and fill our guts with this foolishness, you see. And again, Chazz, what do you say about when someone is in, I can understand when we're in our youth and we become 20, 30, 40, or what have you. But when we turn 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years old, And we're still trying to ignore these real issues because we always look forward to a celebration. But celebrations miss their meaning because we really don't want to deal with what is really going on in our lives, Chaz. What's really going on in our lives? We don't like it. We don't do anything about it. So we try to drown our sorrows away by always putting something in our mouths.
Yeah, and like you said, you have 60, 70, 80, 90-year-old people that are still living like this who can still do it, meaning that where they're still able to smoke, they're still able to drink. And I keep harping on those two things because in the African-American community, that seems like our favorite go-to thing to do, but it's something deep-seated, some pain that we've went through probably in the early childhood, and it's like we refuse to let it go. And when you refuse to let it go, these are the results that you get.
Yeah, and we should do what the bottom of the screen is saying. We need to redefine celebration beyond the noise, you see. But we haven't redefined celebration because we're so caught up in all of the mess, you see. We're just caught up. And again, you know, we as a people, some of us, we love to party. That's what we, you know, and we want to party, and we see it as an easy way to do life, you see. And so because we love to party, we love celebration. Every time you look around, we're celebrating for this, we're celebrating for that, instead of sitting our behinds down and saying, what do we get out of this celebration? What is the meaning? What is the meaning of the day that we're getting together? Why can't we sit down and talk about how these things going to affect us, as opposed to always talking loud, foaming at the mouth, loud and salivating and all this good stuff?
Letter D, we have confused celebrating with partying and do not want to straighten out the confusion. Yes, now celebrating, you can have a mild celebration, like you said, where you get together, maybe 7 or 8 of you guys, you get over to somebody's house or hotel or whatever, and you watch a movie or just something light. But that's good. But there's a difference with that and partying. Well, like you said, we got the music bumping. We got all these dudes that, you know, cussing, taking FaceTime videos, putting them on their YouTube pages and all that. So it's like we don't know how to stop or how to separate celebrating and partying. And once again, they go hand in hand, but we have to learn how to say, you know what? I am going to celebrate today with a few of my family members without all this foolishness. But I think in the African-American community, brother, it is so hard to tell us, you know what, don't party, because this is basically all we know.
Yeah, and I'm glad this D comes out to tell us that this is why we do it. Tonight we're talking about why we celebrate, and the way we celebrate is basically erroneous because we have confused celebration with partying. See, every time, like you mentioned, when we see people staggering or people talking loud, people cooking a lot of food, people getting cussed out, people getting knocked out at parties, you know, we call that celebrating. That's not celebrating. That's foolishness, you see. That's being foolhardy. But instead of us being adults and telling people the truth about it, saying, hey, we have mixed the data up. That's not celebrating. That's acting a fool. That's being a buffoon. And we got to stop this because our little children and our grandchildren, they see these things. And most of us don't say anything about it. Instead of checking us at these parties and all these places we go to, calling ourselves celebrating, we do not want to straighten out the confusion. And you know that we're confused, Chaz. You know we are confused.
We are. There's another one on the screen that says, note, traditions have caused a lot of damage to our minds when it comes to celebrations. I'll let you take this one as I
please. I've been waiting on this one, just like a baseball player waiting to hit a fastball out of the park.
Okay.
Now listen, traditions have caused a lot of damage to our minds when it comes to celebration. Now let me break this down, and I'm not going to be long-winded because it doesn't need for me to be long-winded. All I'm saying is some of this stuff has been passed down. In other words, ever since we were children, we saw this and we took it as celebration. And now that we're old, we're doing the very same thing and we call it tradition. That's not tradition, Chaz. That's nonsense. And someone's going to have to stand up to all of us and say, it's okay to celebrate, but the things that we're doing now is not celebrating. And then they say, well, that's just tradition. Well, that's dumb to be saying something is tradition that's detrimental. And if it is tradition, we need to get rid of it. And I'm not saying get rid of the positive things that tradition brings us, but I'm saying we always say this is tradition for uncle to come over every so-called New Year and get drunk and fall over the banister, hurt himself. You know, it's tradition for aunts to get together and fuss and fight and you know act foolish. It's tradition for us to cuss the kids out, let the kids hear all this vulgar music. That's crazy, Chaz. We've lost our minds, and no one wants to sit down long enough to say, when are we going to have this discussion when it comes to celebrating? And I'm going to say this, and I promise I'm going to give it back to you.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I hope that this Black History Month, right now, is still sacred. Right now, it's still honest. I hope it doesn't turn into a thing where every day we're getting drunk. Every day we're, doing something that doesn't bring notice to Black history. I hope it doesn't turn like most of the celebrations that we do now, because most of our celebrations, what they involve. I don't need to keep being redundant, but this is what they involve. And a lot of us we don't want to hear this stuff, Chaz. And that's a problem right there.
Yeah, and I'm starting to see it a little bit. In fact, let me read this brother's comment. We got brother Daryl. He fires in here. He says, James Brown wrote a song called Escapation. Okay.
No, I think it's escapism.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it said escapation. I'm sorry. Escapism. Okay. And this is the Sharon fires behind him. She says the end result is broke. She's right. And that always happens too on these holidays. We spend all this unnecessary cash, and we have Sister Barbara. She fires in behind Sister Sharon, and she says, "So Tep King should appreciate her."
I want to go back. I want to go back to this brother's comment, because he's right. Okay. James Brown wrote a song called "Escapism." Now, the thing of it is the song itself. There's nothing in and of itself wrong with the song, but this is what we put together as celebrating. See, music, loud talking, a lot of different things going on at one time. Everyone's trying to outdo the other person in speech. The kids listening to vulgarity. That's just it's just unreal. See, and we listen to people like us who are adults who sit around and we clap, we applaud when they're doing that, and so we are in a serious mess right now as a people. But yet, a lot of us don't see the need to really deal with, like these brothers and sisters are saying, what it has come down to.
Celebration. A special way of showing appreciation for something important.
Yeah, and we go back to that. We go ahead, Chad, because we got to go back to that.
Go ahead. I'll let you get it. I'll pick it back.
It's a special way. A celebration is special. Chad, you and I can celebrate right now. We're talking. Right. Mm-hmm. We can be thankful for Big Mama. We can be thankful for our grandfather. Right. We can be thankful for someone that did something for us. We can be thankful for one of our ancestors. We can be thankful for our health. We can celebrate because of life. There's all kinds of things we can celebrate for. It doesn't always involve liquor. It doesn't always involve alcohol. And listen, if you're going to celebrate and you say, well, Ja, we're going to celebrate and I'm going to have 2 brewskis. Okay, Chaz, that's okay. No, I got to give you an example. You can drink 2 brewskis, but you're not going to drink 2 brewskis. You're going to start off with 2 brewskis. You're going to go back to the liquor store. You're going to go get another 6-pack. You're going to get you a blunt. You're going to go get some Wild Irish Rolls. And before you know it, this celebration has turned into a sham, man.
Yeah. And let me just touch up. You said this a few minutes ago. I just want to touch up on this. You said about the African-American Black History Month, how you hope it doesn't turn into something bad. I think we are starting to turn to that. Now, like on these Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King, all these holidays, for the most part. Yeah, Dr. King has a march that some of us go to when it's not cold. But for the most part on social media, what I'm starting to see, and this is something that's starting to pick up a little bit here, you're starting to see a lot of people on these holidays, they're uploading these videos, and they have in the description, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, we appreciate you and all that. But they're drinking. And once again, do you think Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, do you think that they will want us celebrating like that? So you are right, brother. I think we're twisting these holidays for the wrong meaning.
Yeah, you're right. And I know we know the answer to that. But once again, when the mind has been infiltrated, see, we don't see how European ideology, how our upbringing, how it has really affected us. We think we've normalized this now. We have normalized the activity that we do when we call celebration or celebrating. That's really not celebrating. But in our minds, Chaz, we call it celebrating. Because when you say Jai, your birthday is next month. And I say to you, well, we're going to get together. But you know me, you know what I'm going to have. I'm going to have that big old 40 thing on me. You know what I'm saying? And so you're like, well, you ain't going to outdo me. Let me go ahead and get that 60 thing. And here we are going back and forth, trying to get total wasted. And yet that has nothing to do with me being born. That's you and I wanting to get drunk and not being honest about trying to do the things that we know we shouldn't be doing.
You're absolutely right. We have Sister Barbara. She fires in here. She says, if liquor and drugs isn't involved, we don't want to celebrate. Many of us. What in the hell? Now, I believe that, and I said this many times ago, the sister's spot on to where when we have get-togethers, if we go to these celebrations and we find out no blunts, no pills, no Xanax, none of that is involved, we say, oh, man, you lame. This party whack. I'm leaving. Don't call me back to this nonsense. So this is how we think. And it's sad that if we can't go to a celebration or a birthday party without these things, there are comments on what I just mentioned. We downgraded. So this is the spot on. And I don't know if we could do a survey. And I'm pretty sure the outcome would be terrible. To where if we said everybody had to do a birthday party or celebration without liquor or weed or whatever, I guarantee you probably 60 to 70% of the party, or the people wouldn't participate in the party if they knew no liquor or anything was involved.
I cast aspersion on all of us, and I'm included as an adult. We ought to be ashamed of ourselves, Chazz, but a lot of us are not. We always look at society like other people are doing it, but we are allowing it to be done because we go to these places and we say nothing, and this is true. If liquor and drugs, if they're not involved in this festive or whatever we're doing, we don't want to celebrate, and again, we're tying two things together. That's not true, you see, because my issue with us is, like I just told you in my last illustration, it's okay if you want to have a drink. I'm talking about if you want to have a drink or two. We don't have discipline. Okay. That one drink ends up 5, it ends up 7, 8, 9, and it's like we are animals, man. We have lost our minds, and most of us claim to be spiritual or religious. It's not the unbeliever. It's us who sit up in churches and all the time and praying. It's us who go to the mosque. It's us who talk about the Necharu and the sun and the moon and all of this stuff. We're the ones who get this going, and we don't want to be honest about it. And so that's why we have what we have now. And this is why a lot of people are listening to this broadcast, and in their hearts, they know we're telling the truth because we're all indicted, every last one of us, because we have normalized what we call celebrating when it's really nothing but having a party and getting drunk. And that's just sad, man.
Yeah, well said. Letter E, commercial influence. Businesses promote partying and festivities because they want to drive consumer spending. Of course, they know in the back of their minds or in their hearts, they know if they promote these so-called holidays or whatever, they know this partying and these festivities, they're going to drive up the bucks. They're going to make a lot of people to spend. These liquor stores are going to get paid. Walmart is going to get paid. These beauty salons are going to get paid. All these places are going to rake in, and they know that. In fact, the holiday we just had was a prime example. Now, anybody could do what they want to do, but it's just the point. When these holidays are celebrated, everything, all these grocery stores, businesses start skyrocketing because they know they can influence us to go spend money that we necessarily don't have to promote in a lot of this foolishness.
You are spot on, and I want to take it back about a month ago to something that happens every year. Now, once I say the word, you're going to say, okay, I know where he's going. The Super Bowl. Okay, we're celebrating 2 teams make it to the highest level in the National Football League. But if you go to the store, you're going to see that day and the night before so much liquor, so much beer. A lot of people don't even like football, but that's the chance, see, to get drunk. And like some of my European friends, they want to go get not 1 beer, not 2 beers. They want to go get a keg. They want to go get a keg. And then when that keg is gone, they want to get another keg. And then they talk about what they do at the Super Bowl, which has nothing to do with the game. And most of us, we want to get as toasted as we can. We just want to get flushed. And it's like, when are we going to start speaking up, Chazz? And I'm telling you, man, this is a problem. but yet we're living in the belly of the beast. And I feel sorry for us as a society because many of us don't have the stomach. We don't have the stomach to listen to this kind of language. We rather
See,
go behind our cell phones and just act like everything is going well.
See, I thought, and maybe I'm old school, but I thought, like, say, for example, if you go to Buffalo Wild Wings or whatever, I thought there was a limit. For example, if they served you, I don't know, 3 beers, and the server could tell that, you know, you were wasted and you couldn't really make good judgment and stuff like that. I was told, or maybe this is old school, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought they couldn't serve you anymore after you've had so many. Isn't that true?
See, I don't know that, Chazz. I gotta admit, that's one thing I'm about. If I don't know something, I'm gonna say I don't know because I think I know everything. But on this one, you got me. I don't know, but I know at home, I know you can drink till the cows come home. See, I know if you're over to your cousin's house, you can drink till the last can is standing. So what I'm saying is, many of us have turned this thing, and I keep going back to this. We ought to be ashamed of ourselves. We really ought to as a society. But again, we have made this thing something that's normal. So our kids see this, our grandkids see this. And when they grow up, they repeat the same process because they don't know how to celebrate. They see what they see and they repeat that. And this is why the Super Bowl, everything that comes up, the NBA finals, shooting marbles, whatever is big, you're going to find people with alcohol, loud talking, music, vulgarity, and it doesn't make sense, man. My family and I, we can never get together and just sit down and talk like you and I are talking now and call it a celebration.
Right.
It's got to be food. It's got to be alcohol. It's got to be somebody getting cussed out. It's got to be somebody getting angry. See, and we've turned that into what is celebrating, and that has nothing to do with celebration.
Man, that was a good little rant there. Letter F. Social expectations. Society pressures us to celebrate in ways that involve foolishness. Yeah, we just mentioned that. Our society has indoctrinated us to, like I said, on our birthdays or our loved ones' birthdays, to, just act the fool. That's basically what it is. Just act the fool, put it on social media, get likes and clicks, and then people retweet it and stuff like that. And for the most part, if you were to have just a civil celebration, like I said, where we sitting down, maybe have some coffee, maybe have some tea, and just sit back and just mingle. A lot of the people at that party would say that that's lame, that's whack. So you're right. And through these movies, through these TV shows, I hate saying this, brother, but they've done a good job at promoting their ideas on us, and we just take it hook, line, and sinker.
And I'm not talking about all the other days that we call ourselves celebrating. Somebody's got a new job or somebody got this or that. But you think of all these days that we call celebrate these days, but just think of it. Start off with New Year's. The so-called New Year. Why do we have to get drunk? Even though it's not New Year. We know that January the 1st is not the New Year. We know that this earth is older than 2025 years. We know that. But let's just give them that for the argument. What does shooting in the air have to do with New Year's, other than being us being tradition? We've been cultured like that. This is other people's tradition. What does drinking until 12 o'clock and then crying? Because it used to be back in the day, and I don't do this, but I know a lot of people used to go to church and they used to pray the New Year in. They're not doing it anymore. Them same people are watching that ball in New York come down, and they're having fun, man. And it's like we've just gotten away from what the real meaning of celebrating means.
Absolutely. Letter G, media influence. Movies, TV shows, social media references the idea that celebration means partying and getting wasted. I literally just said that 30 seconds ago. These TV shows, these movies, social media, some of our relatives, they've all had a major influence on why we act this way. Most of these TV shows on MTV and all that, this stuff is getting out of control. And on this one, I don't want to be the dead horse, but it's literally what I just said previously on the previous thing that we just had.
Yeah, see, what I don't understand is this, Chazz. We watch TV a lot. People, as a society, we watch TV a lot. And there's always a scene where somebody is calling themselves celebrating, and they're drinking and partying and dancing and all of that. And these children, again, are sitting there watching this. And instead of us taking that time to use it as a teaching moment, to say, okay, what they're doing, ask the kids, what are they doing? They're celebrating. said, no, they're not celebrating. They're getting drunk. See, let's tell them they're getting high. That's not celebrating. That's people wanting to do things for their own pleasure. So we should take all these moments and teach these kids and teach ourselves. This is just a movie, but
Right.
we do what these movies do because we mimic these places. We mimic these movies. We mimic all of these different skits because it reinforces the idea that celebration means partying and getting wasted. And as an African people, African Americans, we ought to be ashamed of ourselves. But see, people think you and I are just blowing smoke and we're fuddy-duddies. We're outdated. You only live once, so you might as well give them all the gusto. That's a lie. You live every day. But this is what we've been sold, man. And this is why we're in trouble.
Let me ask you this before we move on the previous one. Do you think that the programming from the media and all that, do you think it's too strong on the population so that they can't go back now, or you think it's still some hope there?
Well, I think it's always hope when a person changes their mind, but I think the mental aspect, the mental aspect of it is what's messed up. Because once we give them our mind, we're not thinking about going back. See, people don't watch you and I. People don't watch this kind of broadcast. People aren't interested in this broadcast. People are interested in the Grammys. People are interested in the Country Music Award. People are interested in all these movies that come out. People are interested in sports and entertainment. This is where our minds are today. People are interested in social media, and that's who have their minds based upon a European indoctrination that most of us are possessed. We are possessed, and we don't want to hear guys like you and I and other women and other people who tried to say, hey, we got to stop this. We don't want to hear this. We want to sit back and act like everything is okay, knowing that a lot of us have drinking problems, a lot of us have smoking problems, a lot of us have eating problems, because that's all we do when we celebrate is cook all this food and eat as much as, and this is something that we don't want to talk about. We can't just get a plate and eat and say, wow, this is some good food. Let's leave it at that. We're going to get more than one helping. We're going to take a doggy bag home, and it's like this gluttony, and nobody's calling that out. And everybody's afraid to say what we're saying because we're all a part of this nonsense.
Right. Good job. Well said there. Letter H, family pressures. Many family members don't know what celebration is, so they encourage the nonsense. And they don't. Well, I would twist it. They know what a celebration is. They just choose to act foolish. Now, all through our lives, 60, 70, 80 years, I know that they have to know, but it's just like I said, through these media, these TV shows and stuff, they've done a really, really good job on programming us. And in fact, many of our family members, like I said earlier, I don't think that they would want to turn back at this point because it's been so rooted inside of them, brother. And I think asking them to pull away now, it's almost you asking for a fight to tell them to stop acting like this. So it's kind of too hard, but that's all I have on that one in particular.
And see, our family members are the culprits. See, we let them off the hook. It's our family members that get together and act that way. Because a lot of times when we get together, it is as families. So one of my friends told me that he got together with his family, and one of his uncles got so drunk that he put a sheet around his neck, went up on the roof, and said he was Superman. And he said, he was drunk as a skunk, and said, do y'all dare me to jump? And they said, don't do it. He says, I am Superman. He was so tore up. He jumped off the roof and broke his stupid leg. He broke his leg, and they had to call EMS because, but see, that was the biggest part of the celebration. That's foolishness, as this screen says. We encourage the foolishness, And a lot of times, like you mentioned before, when we had one of these broadcasts, if you and I have a party, or we celebrating, let's put it that way, we're celebrating, and I noticed you only had one brewski. I keep saying that. You had one beer, one glass of wine. And I noticed, I keep looking at you. You said, Jai, why you keep looking at me? And I'm like, this ain't like you, Chazz. And you go, man, I'm celebrating the right way. I'm learning what this celebration is about. I don't want that. And now I'm angry. And I'm telling you, come on, man, you done got soft. And here you go. You got to go back to the cupboard and get some more. Before you know it, you're sloppy drunk. And I give you high five and say, that's my dude. That's my guy right there. You're like, yeah, you know me. I was fronting at first. So here we are both acting foolish. This is what this says. It encourages us to act foolish. And again, a lot of us don't want to talk about this.
Yeah.
We act as if everything, we don't even have any comments, but we know our family and our friends have taken the word celebration and misunderstood it and turned it into a party, in which it has nothing to do with that.
Question. Do you think we will ever capture the real meaning of celebration and do it the right way? Personally, I think a few of us will. Now, I don't have the exact number, but I think there's always some kind of people that are willing to accept a change and willing to accept the new way. So yeah, I believe a few people will, but I think the majority of us probably won't. I
I
want to
do.
ask you your take on that.
Yeah, you couldn't have said it better. Perfectly stated. I think a few of us will, because when you tell a man we're going to get together and celebrate granddaddy's life, granddaddy's been gone for 50 years. We're going to sit these little kids down and we're going to teach them what a great man granddaddy was. We're going to talk about how granddaddy sacrificed, how granddaddy struggled to keep food on the table for us. We're going to talk about how granddaddy treated everybody right. We're going to talk about all the great things that granddaddy did, so that character hopefully will spill into their lives. See, that's what, but see, a lot of us don't want that. We don't care about what granddaddy did. Wow. Pass me the Hennessy. Pass me the Hennessy. You can keep talking about granddaddy all you want, but I want something to make me feel good. See, this is not me. I don't want to go to a celebration when there's not food, drinks, loud music. We have lost this thing here that we call the mind. Our hearts have been damaged. And I'm talking about all of us, you, me, and all of us. But the problem I have with us as a people is we act like none of this is going on. We see this happening every time we get together, and we even encourage some of it. And instead of saying, let's talk about what this really means, we're not thinking about what it means, because we want them greens. We want them, we want those ribs. You know, we're too excited about potato salad, you know, and all this. Oh, who made the potato salad? You know, this kind of stuff like this. So we argue about those things, and the celebration gets ugly because now we're talking about something that we didn't even come for. We didn't come for it.
Right. Letter I. Many of us don't celebrate properly because we have nothing to live for. Our lives are centered around revelry, noise, merrymaking, jubilation, dancing, music, and food. And this right here is well said. And it's not to knock on any of us, but I think that's the result. Excuse me. When you don't have anything to live for, this is the result that you get. So you turn to this, you turn the party. And in fact, every weekend, it's just a nonstop uptick of just constantly going to the club, constantly trying to find somebody that is having a party, constantly on social media looking for parties, just so we can have this. And once again, I think to highlight this here, it's important to have something to live for, because if you don't, like you mentioned on this screen, you're going to turn to this, and sometimes it gets fatal to where, like you said, some of us start doing crazy things, getting in races on the highway, getting in terrible car crashes, getting in terrible accidents, doing daring things. So once again, I think on this note here, brother, it's important to have something to live for, basically. That's the way I take this note.
Yeah, I want to comment on that too, but I want to make a quick announcement. All those who are viewing this broadcast, if you come back next week, we're going to tell you, or we're going to encourage some ways that we can celebrate. We talked about how we did it last week. Today, we're talking about why we celebrate incorrectly. And next week, we're going to talk about how we can take some tips. And hopefully, you will have some tips, family, where you can bring some tips and you can comment on different things we can do to celebrate. See, this is what it's all about. You got to be engaged, you see. You have to be engaged. You can bring some points. Think about it all week. Come back next Wednesday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time, and then comment, here's a way we can celebrate. And we're going to have so much discussion. But again, this here says many of us don't celebrate properly because we have nothing to live for. That's the saddest thing, Chazz. Wow. That's the saddest thing that one could say.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me, and the answer is yes, that we don't have anything to celebrate, we don't have anything to live for, so therefore we celebrate like that? And it's true, because if we had something to live for, we wouldn't be celebrating like this. Right. See, we don't think enough of our own lives, our children, our grandchildren, our friends. You know, we don't think enough of them, that we put this thing down and put it in its context. So I think that's terrible. But again, Chazz, A lot of us don't have, we don't have anything to live for. We're lonely. We're lonely. We're sad.
Yeah.
We're full of anxiety.
Yeah.
We have a lot of anguish. We have turmoil going on. We're bitter. And this is what's going on.
Absolutely. Sister Sharon fires here. She says, I think that's a little, she says, I think that's a little lonely.
Yeah, yeah, loneliness. A lot of us, man, and it's nothing wrong with being alone, but we have internalized that to where we think it's something wrong with us. And so now we have nothing to live for. So when we go out to these celebrations, we want to just do whatever we can to try to erase the loneliness. See, we're really hurting inside. Many of these people watching this broadcast, they're not going to be honest with you. We're hurting. And instead of us saying, wait a minute, I need to get me some help, we keep doing the things that we're doing. We want to be seen. We want to be the loudest one at the party. We want everybody to look at us. We want everybody to think we're something, but inside we're crying out for help, and we don't know how to get that help. And so this is the way we do it, by acting a fool. And this is why it happens like that.
Wow. Well said. Letter J. Adults are partly responsible for us not taking the celebration seriously because we don't stand up for truth. Yeah, and you, when you stand up for truth in a situation like this about the loud noise and drinking and stuff, you don't have to make a point in front of others. You could politely pull a brother to the side and say, you know what, cousin or brother or whoever, I noticed you've been drinking a little bit. Don't you think you need to tone it down a notch? And you don't have to do it in front of others, because here's the thing: if you do it in front of others, that person is probably going to think you're trying to be funny, and then a fight will break off. So you don't have to do it. So once again, to stand up to them or people, pull them to the side and just enlighten them, and maybe you can get to them that way by pulling them to the side and hopefully shedding some knowledge to them.
This broadcast is about redefining celebration, because the way we celebrate is really not celebrating. It's basically getting drunk. It's basically getting high. It's basically talking loud, listening to loud music. So what we're saying is there is a way to celebrate, and we can celebrate. But I go back to this, Chazz.
Okay.
Adults are partly responsible. I'm partly responsible. You're partly responsible. Many of us that's watching this broadcast, we're partly responsible because we don't stand up for truth. You see, we are afraid. Now at home, when nobody's around, we are really, really loud, talk loud. But when we get around other family members, we see our cousins and our nephews and our nieces and our uncles and our aunts acting like a fool, instead of us saying to them in love, hey, this is not what we really wanted to do. And my thing is, if you're going to do that, as long as you're just calm. If you want to drink 20 Mickeys, if you want to drink, if you want to if you want to smoke a whole dime bag, as long as you sit your behind down and don't bother anybody,
right,
I'm okay with that. I mean, because I can't stop you. But what we want to do is we see them doing it and we look at them. And as soon as they get in the accident, they get knocked out, we say, I knew that was going to happen. I knew that was going to happen. Instead of talking, I knew that was going to happen. We're spineless, Chazz. A lot of us are spineless.
Yeah.
We don't really want to stand on truth. That's
right.
why we don't have many friends, you see, because a lot of people don't want to hear this, man. They don't want to hear the truth about how we can help our children, our grandchildren, ourselves. We don't want to do this because we always thought celebrating was partying. That's two different things. But again, when you break it down like you're breaking it down tonight, you find that a lot of people are just not with it. Like you said, they're not with it. They're not with it. This is why you don't get many comments on these kind of broadcasts. This is why you don't get phone calls when you have a phone line open and you want people to call in. See, you don't get those. But if this was something that had to do with loudness and all that, if what's his name, Uncle Charlie was coming, that played with the Gap Band, and he came on his, man, this place would be off his phone. If he had a broadcast where he was drinking and he was taking phone calls, I bet you that he'll have so many viewers, because that's what we are.
What we are addicted to. Yeah.
Yeah, we really are. We really are. And hey, we don't have any more points, Chazz. We finally got done with our points. We're going to declare this a national holiday.
Okay.
No more points. We're just going to talk from now till we get out of here about redefining celebration. Why should we redefine celebration, Chazz, to you?
Because it gives us, as African Americans and specifically, it gives us a new look. It gives people, not that we're doing this for others, but you will want others to look at you in a like manner. And on top of that, you don't want to be known for being foolish and just celebrating and always known for getting drunk. And once again, I got to say this one more time. It's not about how we're viewed, but the media, YouTube, all these places, when they see us in this negative light, in this negative manner, as people who don't want nothing out of life, people who always want to thug and gang bang and stuff. So I think this is important to celebrate in a new manner, like I said, so we can get some of this negative stigmas off of our back. What's your take on it?
My take is this: we should redefine celebration, because what we're doing today is really not celebrating. We call it celebrating, but it's not celebrating. So when you redefine celebrating, when you realize that all that noise that we hear, that's not celebrating, that's loud music. All those suggestive dances that we do in front of our great grandmothers and these little kids, showing our butts and all of that, that's not celebrating, that's foolishness. All this loud talking, all this nonsense, that's not really celebrating. So we must redefine what celebration is. So next week, again, we're going to talk about what is celebration. How should we celebrate? How did our earlier ancestors celebrate? We know now it's gone from where it used to be to now, but that's because most of us operate under a European mindset. So we've seen them do that. Now we're doing the same thing and we're calling it celebration. And I really feel sorry for us. I'm included. I feel sorry for us as a people, because men, women alike, we don't have what it takes to say, hey, we have to redefine celebration beyond all this noise, And then I think a lot of us, we just never done that before. We've never been challenged like that. See, we've always taken the back seat, and we've always looked at things. So again, Chazz, we must redefine what celebration is. And I hope that Black History Month, I hope that everything Kwanzaa, I hope that Juneteenth don't turn into a day of revelry, loud music, dope, alcohol, liquor, fighting, cussing, food. I hope it doesn't turn into that, but I'm afraid that I'm a little bit too late for that.
You are, brother. I said this a little bit earlier. I'm starting to see sneak peeks. All you got to do is go to YouTube. You'll find a lot of this stuff where they're turning this stuff, like you said, Malcolm X Day, Martin Luther King Day, Marcus Garvey. A lot of us, or some of us, are starting to flip it to, like I said, just another day to get toe up. So you're a little bit, like you said, brother. I think you're a little bit too late to the party on that.
I thought we would be able to come in and save the day. At the end of all the movies, the hero comes in and saves the day. You say, I can't save this day, huh?
No, I think you're a little bit too late. But just for the most of us, the rest of us who do know what these holidays mean, we can take it with a grain of salt and just know what these days really mean. And for the others who do choose to celebrate that way, just hopefully pray and hope that it goes away, I guess, as they say.
Yeah, and I've always thought that when we got older, this is what I thought, and I was very, very mistaken. I thought when we got older, as we get older, I should say, I always thought that we change, we kind of slow down. I know our health slows us down. We can't do what we used to do. All that nightclub and stuff, we can't do it. But I guess I'm just out of touch, because I'm still doing that, and we're not young, man. We're doing it at home, but we're doing it in the clubs. I mean, we're great grandparents, and we're out doing this thing. And again, you can do what you want to do. I can do what I want to do. People can do what they want to do. But I would think that when we get older, there would be some type of seriousness, that we would sit down and say, hey, that's not what this world is about, because we've been there and done that. That's how you think normalcy is. But unfortunately, we're not doing enough, because it's so-called celebration is coming up. I promise you, it's going to be marked with everything that we just said. And that's why,
Oh, yeah. You 100%.
Next week, Chazz, we really got to hit hard on, okay, since we talked about how we shouldn't do it, and we talked about why we do it, I think next week we should really give the people a whole lot of points on how to celebrate. And they're going to be surprised, because sometimes when we celebrate, It's not what we think, because most of the times when we talk about celebration or when we use that word, many people think it has to do with all that other stuff. But Chazz, sometimes celebration has nothing to do with all of that. It shouldn't. It has to do with, and I don't want to let any of the points, too many points out tonight that we're going to say next week, but I do want to just give them a tidbit. Teaching should be a part of celebration. We should be taught, why are we gathering together today? Who did what for us to gather today? What is the significant, and you'll hear the same thing next week, because I'm just giving you one pointer of what we're going to say, how to celebrate by teaching. Teaching why we have these days, teaching the origin of these days, teaching who paid a price, teaching who sacrificed for the day that we're calling the day that we're going to celebrate. See, those are the things that we need to get into, because if you get together and you don't ever teach, which we don't, we just come together out of tradition and habit, and we leave, we find ourselves just so messed up internally that when we leave, it's nothing to do. It's nothing to do. Yeah.
And I was going to say too, on the celebration part, now a lot of people may not believe or feel this is right, but I think on celebrations, the main thing of it is just being sober. Can you get together for an hour or two just being sober? And then after that, which you're going to probably do it anyway, you could do it till the sun comes up. But I'm just saying, for those 3 or 4 hours or 2 hours or 5 hours, just be sober. That's not asking much, to have a sound or a clear mind, watch the videos, mingle, that kind of thing. So that was my take on the whole celebration thing is. And I wouldn't even be opposed to people if you wanted to celebrate, and let's say you had some food and some water and maybe some coffee or something. Now, that's my kind of thing. But I'm saying I wouldn't think that that's too bad. But I think it starts off with water and coffee and food or whatever, and then somebody else brings in the real stuff. So
I was getting ready to say, on that coffee, somebody gonna have something in their pocket. They're gonna turn their back. They're gonna put some in that coffee, and they're gonna stir it up a little bit with their fingers, and they're gonna turn around and drink it. And before you know it, you're gonna say, you holding that cup like that's not a coffee cup, because you know what's in there. You know what's in there. And then they start slurring and all this stuff, so you know what they're doing.
Or like you know, the trick in the book where they leave it in the car, and then they go into the car 5 and 6, 7 times every other minute. So yeah, you know how there's ways to get around it, but that was my main thing of it. Just getting together, just being sober.
What about this one, Chazz? Since we just talking, what about this one? There's a children's party, which the child is about 7.
Okay.
A lot of adults are there because they respect the child, they know the child, they're in the child's life.
Right.
But the party is, like you just said, there's cake and ice cream for the kids, but everybody keep going outside for something. Everybody, all the adults, one at a time, they go and come back, and the kids keep looking at this saying, why they keep going outside? And then somebody says, oh, don't worry about that. See, somebody should tell the truth. They're going outside because they want to be intoxicated. Now, we know this is your party. We know this is your party, but they're going outside to go around that tree and smoke some dope because they want to get high. They don't realize what the meaning of celebration is. So therefore, this is what happens.
Yeah. Sister Sharon fires in here. She says that happens at all family reunions, especially, like I said, I'm not hip, and I'll have to YouTube this, the Hispanics and the whites, but how they do their reunions, which they probably have their own way of smoking and stuff. But she is right, Sister Sharon, on this one. She says this happens at all family reunions, especially in the black ones, where, like we said, we got to keep running, we got to keep smoking, and then we sending our little nephews and stuff to the liquor store and all that. So Sister Sharon is spot on about how this happens at all family reunions with the liquor and the pills and stuff.
It shouldn't, but she's right. You know, we all have been bitten by that, and now we have accustomed to that. We say, if that's not around, this ain't no reunion. This ain't no celebration. You know, this is whack. You know, what y'all got? We don't have anything. Oh, I'm going. I'll be back in a few minutes. Then you know what he's going to get. So, and it's like, this is how sick. This is a messed up people, and this is what we're dealing with.
Sister Mashonda fires in here. She says that's not a kids' party. Laugh out loud.
Yeah, because the adults want it. Yeah, but the adults, it's the adults' party because it's not a celebration of the kid's birthday. It's the adult, and and then sometimes they try to sneak it. See, now you may not see him go to the car, but you smell some on his breath, and you say, he's been here all this time. What? It's some trick that he has that he can be in your presence or she can be in your presence. And once you go to the restroom and come back, or you go get something to eat and come back, you smell it. You say, well, I don't know how they did that, because we're good at that kind of stuff. And this is what we turn celebration into. And it's go ahead, Chazz.
Oh, I was just gonna say an oldest trick in the book. I did this. I heard people doing about this stuff where, let's say, for example, you go to the store, you just get a bottle that's dark, like a water bottle or something, and all you got to do is just pour the water out of that bottle, and pour it into something else. And if it's liquor, if it's something like Grey Goose is close to water, so you just pour it in the water bottle. People think you drinking water, so you just told on yourself right there. You said, "How can somebody be in someone's presence? You think they're drinking water, but it's really lit." They poured the water out before they got there, and they just poured the Grey Goose inside the water bottle. And people think it's water, so that's how they slip it.
You ask, can we be sober for once at a party, or at a celebration, I should say, because we're mixing the data again. Not a party, because a party is a party, but a celebration. You're right. So my thing is this, though, Chazz. Can these kids not see us act like that for just 2 hours? Can we just leave it alone for 2 hours and go our way when we leave the party for the kid or the celebration? We do what we want to do. Why we gotta bring it, man? Why we gotta bring it with us some kind of way?
We just I don't know. It's like we gotta feel something. We don't like being sober. We gotta feel something to, I guess, be alive, as they say. Sister Mashonda fires in here. She says, you gonna smell it and you gonna see those eyes. They're gonna be red.
Because the eyes start off white, and then again, by 2 hours into the party, the eyes start changing colors. By the fourth hour, the eyes are bloodshot red. Now you didn't see it, but you know something happened. And then the speech starts to slur, and then you start hearing nonsense. You know, and so it's like we have messed up the word celebration. We have put partying in the place of celebrating, and we need to realize that we've got to redefine what celebration really means.
Sister Sharon fires in here. She says, or a fias.
Or a flask.
Oh, I'm sorry. Screen.
That's that little thing that they put that's tall. She know, and I know what she's talking about. So here again, tonight's discussion has been, we must redefine celebrating, because as an African American people, we have taken this word celebration and we've basically taken that out and put the word partying in, and we call it celebration. See, and we got to put the word celebration back in the mix and take the word partying and leave that for another time. Now, there's a time and place. If you want to get scut bucket and all this, there's a time and place for all of that. But it's not always a time for that when we get together, man. And like Sister Sharon said, don't have a family reunion. Once you have a family reunion, you already know what's gonna happen. You ain't you say tonight. And see, this is another thing I want to say before we get out of here. What I despise is a lot of our elderly, our great grandmothers or our aunts that's really old. They shouldn't be hearing all that loud music that's cussing and telling a man to do this and do that, or do a woman and man do this. They shouldn't be hearing all that, man. They shouldn't be hearing that, Chazz. But we sit there and say, yeah, put that on. We've lost respect for them, man. But they call that celebrating. You know, grabbing his crotch and gyrating. We have lost it, man. We've lost it, man.
Yeah. It's sad. Like you said, some of our elders don't need to hear that, but some of us young people, we just play the music anyway and play that movie anyway. Sister Mashonda fires in here. She says, that's a fight. She said then a fight might break out.
It ain't might. It's gonna break out. It's gonna break out.
Oh yeah.
I'll let you close, Chazz. Let me take this thing. I've been running my mouth for some reason all this broadcast. I dominated, so I'm gonna let you have the next one when we talk about different ways to celebrate. But I had to get a lot off my chest so everybody can see. But I'm doing this because of the love that I have for our people.
Right.
We need to look at our lives introspectively and look at ourselves and say, we can do better than this. All of us, you, me, all of us, we can do better than this, Chazz. We don't have to go out like that. Celebrating is honoring the day or the person and bringing light to that meeting, that event. It's not always about those other things that we've been talking about, harping on all night. So again, let's start looking at when we celebrate, let's make it mean more than just the other stuff, all the outer stuff. Let's make it mean more than just coming and arguing and fighting and fussing and backbiting and being messy. Let's make it about something sacred. Make it about something special. And let's sit down and begin to tell people, I love you, brother. I love you, sister. But we don't want that tonight. And if you don't want to do that, why don't you wait till afterward? Go put it back in your car. Go put it back in your car and just give us another hour or two, and then you can have at it. Don't do that. Don't do these kids like that. You see, we got to talk like this, Chad, because a lot of us are afraid to, but we got to give just common sense things, make things relevant so people can say, wow, this is good. I can't wait, Chaz, till next week because we're going to really get into some ways to celebrate. Now, we probably won't have that many viewers because it's going to be corny to some. We don't want to hear this. We're not talking about Hennessy. We're not talking about Jack Daniels. We're not talking about Blunt and all this. We're talking about ways that we can celebrate to replace the nonsense that we have all engaged in, every one of us, and we continue to engage in. Drink a beer, drink two cups of wine, go drink a bottle of wine, then take your butt home and go to bed.
Well said. Tonight, I appreciate the viewers that did tune in tonight. This was a good broadcast. It was basically about celebration, why we're celebrating the way we are, and how we've changed celebrations basically to parties. How we're doing this in front of our children, our elders. Some of us are just disrespecting our own selves with the way we act. Driving home under the influence, doing all kind of stuff, getting on rooftops, just doing daring things that are just detrimental to our health, but are serious because at the end of the day, once you wake up from that high or you wake up off of being drunk, you're going to notice the damage that you did. And then in some of our cases, it's on video. So it's like now this material is floating around for years and years and years. And this is how we're being remembered for acting a fool at these parties, which there's nothing wrong with getting together, being sober for a few hours, communicating, talking about a loved one, talking about something that happened in the past. There's nothing wrong with that. But something is wrong with it when you always have to have some kind of outside substance to get yourself fired up to go. Be sober is the main thing out of all this. And next week, I look forward to doing part 3 to this, brother.
Okay, Chaz, that was well said. So again, we'd like to thank you all for tuning in to this broadcast. We'll see you later. And our outro is coming up right now. See you next week.